please welcome Barry Habib. Come on. Yeah, come on.
Let's get down.
Yeah.
Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Jay, that was definitely the best introduction I've ever had. If you see in the movie Something About Mary, Jay, you know, we took care of that beforehand. So, I hope you guys, I really did not expect that. For someone who speaks a lot, I was totally speechless. Hey, hope you guys are doing great. It's great to see all you. Really, it's nice to be together. We have a great day planned for you. Christine, God bless you for putting this together. Just amazing. And your team, just Herculean work. It's awesome. Hey guys, just so you know, just the speakers just got a little bit of gremlins here when we pass by them. Want to make sure that you guys know that we are going to be in for a lot of activity, a lot of turbulence in the marketplace. Things are changing. And today's talk is going to be how you can maximize the opportunities that you're given. Today we're going to talk about experiencing exponential growth. And we're going to go through step-by-step how to do that. We're going to give you some real examples. I want you to keep your mental roller skates on today because we're going to go fast. So here we go. We're going to get started right away. Now, I want you to think exponentially because there's exponential growth and then there's linear growth. And I think you guys might have the wrong presentation up here, just so you know. Because yes, you do. So here's the thing we're going to do. All right, it's all right. We're going to audible, no problem. Here's the deal. Well, there's an example we could use here. When you take a look at linear growth, if I take 30 linear steps like I just did, I get from one side of the room to the other. It's about 22 yards. But if I take 30 exponential steps takes me around the world 10 times. Now, when you look at that, it's because exponentially you go 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, team, here's the thing that I want us to make sure that we understand, is that exponential growth is achievable for every single person here. I mean, I'm living proof. I'm an example of this. You know, you talk about having obstacles. Grew up extraordinarily poor. My parents were immigrants. They didn't even speak the language. And here I am, a professional speaker. My parents didn't even speak the language, right? Now, what I want you to understand for yourself is that really anything is achievable. We're going to talk about focus today. We're going to talk about your ability to reach goals that you possibly didn't even see. But the key is to remove points of friction. You know, it used to be a interesting question, and maybe you can see if you can answer it. If I gave you a penny every day and doubled it for 30 days, or offered you $100,000 instead, what would you choose? Well, you'd probably know that I'm kind of testing you here, and you'd probably all say, well, you must think it's the penny a day doubled. But really, let's think about it. A penny a day doubled, so you got a penny, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8, 16, 32. At the end of a week, you got 64 cents. Doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot. But you take that out to 30 days, and at the end of the 30 days, you got $5.3 million. A lot more than $100,000 would be. But you know what? What if that month had 31 days in it? Then it's $10.6 million. So the key is the last double. How do you get more doubles? How do you get the last double? Start earlier. The earlier you start, the more doubles in growth you get. The less you procrastinate, the more success you will see. That means start right now with whatever the project is. Do not put shit off. Do not procrastinate. Procrastination is one of the biggest killers. Now, for me, what I tried to do is alleviate points of friction. The good news is there's points of friction everywhere. It's endless. And that helped me along the S-curve. Now, if you haven't seen an S-curve, this is what it looks like. Kind of looks like a curve in the shape of a letter S. Notice on the bottom part of the curve. The bottom part of the curve, it's kind of flat. That's like our business many times. Many times our business is kind of moving along. Maybe we're growing a little bit. It's kind of tilting up. But those are because we're taking linear steps of growth. Then a point of friction comes along. Then a point of friction comes along. and we encountered that point of friction. Now, what do most people do when there's a point of friction? What do most people do? They bitch. Oh, shit, somebody should fix that. You be the somebody who fixes it. If you're the somebody who fixes it, then what happens is you get exponential growth. But eventually that matures. So you don't want to be a one-trick pony. You don't want to be a one-hit wonder. So we're going to stack S-curve on S-curve on S-curve. That's what the top people in every single profession do. They never quit. They never stop. They never rest on their laurels. They're always striving for more. There's a fire inside of them. There's a hunger inside of them that's burning. And you have to ask yourself, is that you? So let's talk about removing some points of friction. So for me, I think any situation that involves a lack of trust. You think there's a few of those out there? Clearly. I mean, think about the whole thing about DeFi. Everybody know what DeFi means? Decentralized finance, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Boy, talk about lack of trust in fiat currency, lack of trust in several banks. This has caused an explosion in interest in cryptocurrency. Big point of friction, big lack of trust, explosive exponential growth. Would you say that cryptocurrencies have seen exponential growth? Of course they have. This is an exact example of what we're talking about. A new salesperson. And you know what's really cool about our industries now is that there was a long time where it'd be like, you know, you'd see the same people at every conference for year after year. Now there's so many new people getting in. It seems like the secret's out. Mortgage business used to be like the big secret. We never learned about it in school, but now it's more in vogue. So many more young people getting into this industry. And real estate too. You talk to a lot of young people, oh, I'm going to get into real estate. So there's a big influence and influx of people to get in. The thing of it is that with new people getting in, they have to overcome the trust barrier of inexperience. It's a point of friction. So let's build trust. How do we build trust? We build trust, in my opinion, the two best ways to build it. And the first one is expertise and knowledge. If you learn from somebody, don't you begin to trust them more? I mean, if you're learning and you're growing for them, you trust them. Why does our brain decide to trust them more? Because we say in our subconscious, this person has gone through painstaking steps to educate themselves. So they must be serious. They must care. They must have a work ethic. And therefore, I can trust them more because they've gone through all this. So we have to be able to show that expertise very early on. We can't do what everyone else is doing, and we're going to talk about how to do that. The other is vulnerability. Vulnerability is telling somebody everything possibly bad about the transaction. Do not look at customers as customers. Look at customers as if you were going to treat them as if they were your child, your parent, or your best friend. And it's your job to look out for their interests. Forget about commission, forget about deal, forget about production, forget about numbers. Think one thought. How do I protect this customer as if they're my child, my parent? If you do that, and you begin to tell them everything that's bad or wrong with that transaction that they should be looking out for, the world changes immediately. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard because we want that commission so bad. We don't want it to have anything jeopardize it. Now look, for me, the ways I have tried to remove points of friction for loan officers, so I was a pretty good loan officer. Mortgage Originator magazine ranked me #1. In years before some of you were born. But I could have kept doing that. And I started a mortgage company, and I thought that we were doing well, but I saw a big point of friction. And the point of friction was that I felt loan originators were being burned by costly reprices. They were making bad lock decisions. And what that was doing was really, it was showcasing their lack of knowledge in the marketplace, because loan originators really did not understand the market. And so I said, well, this is a big point of friction. Everybody's complaining about getting repriced, because when you get a reprice, three things can happen. They're all bad. The first one is that you now have tried to build trust with the customer, but then you call them back and say, oh, I know, I told you the rate's this, but now it's higher. Or you take a hit internally and you make less money. That sucks. Or you play the market and you say, I hope it comes back, please. So all three are bad. The only thing worse than that is locking somebody and watching the rate get a lot better. So I felt that why don't we help loan originators do that? because this all created anxiety, lack of confidence, and it was a big time drain, mental time drain too. So I created a company called Mortgage Market Guide. And it was the first of its kind. It became ubiquitous within the mortgage industry, and sold that company. And that was a very, very big thing to help the mortgage industry understand how the market works. Well, I did some fun things too. You guys know that I'm involved with Rock of Ages, and I was the managing partner and lead producer of Rock of Ages, and we took that worldwide. But it started off Broadway first, and then on Broadway. And I saw a big point of friction. And it might seem silly to you, but this point of friction was that drinking alcohol in the seats in Broadway was prohibited. Now, I'd watch people come into the theater. This is New York. Some people were late. Their cab gets there late. Whatever it is, traffic, they want to get an alcoholic beverage. They want to relax. They want to have a good time. They're dressed nicely. They wait online to get their drink. They paid $17 for a drink. And then they'd have to, hear that the show's about to begin, either get rid of your drink or guzzle it. So people would waste that money, or they'd guzzle their drink down and then sit down. This led me to see that it was a negative first impression. I had to win them back over. Before the show started, they had a negative mindset. And I didn't want my customers to have that. So I said, why don't we just fix this? Why don't we just let these people drink their drink in the seats? They said, no, Barry, we don't allow that. Well, any of you who've gotten to know me, you know that I'm going to push back on that a little bit, right? So I said, why? And they said, because we've never done that before. It's not a very good answer as far as I'm concerned. So it took me a little bit of trying and effort, but became the first show in the history of Broadway to allow drinking in the seats. And now they all do it. And thank you. And our customers have a much better experience. Everybody's having a good time. Shit, man, we took it to the extreme. We're bringing shots to people at their seats, right? Let them have some fun. I've always been interested in medicine. And I had an opportunity because I was friendly with a lot of doctors. Build your networks, right? Build your networks. I started to do mortgages for all these docs and became friends with them. And I was always interested and fascinated with it. And you know, through the pandemic, I was doing a lot of stuff with the Cleveland Clinic and Mike Russ. It's always been something I've really studied and tried to understand. It's fascinating. And when it came down to seeing how people are treated when they get scans, now I hope to God you don't have to get any scans. I hope to God you're always healthy. But if you've had to, you know what it's like. You get the scan, the tech's doing the scan on you, and they know everything that's going on, right? You say, oh, how's it look? At least I would say, because I'm really curious, right? Like, well, how's it look? Well, your doctor will tell you. Shit, man, I don't want to hear that, okay? I'm a worrier on top of that, right? I'm like, oh my God, right? Don't look at WebMD or any of those sites, forget that. And I was like, why do we have to put people through this? Why don't we just have a radiologist right on site? And by doing that, we'll alleviate the anxiety. And so I did. Had a medical imaging company, Healthcare Imaging Solutions it was called, put a radiologist right on site, and people loved it. Because if it was good news, they walked away feeling like, oh my gosh, great. If it wasn't the best news, at least they had a plan, and the plan was better than the anxiety. And so I grew it into 3 different offices and then sold the business. All of these involved identifying first a point of friction and then finding a way to remove it. It's not always easy, but that's the good news, because then everybody could do it, right? Now, originations. Did we have a point of friction alleviated in 2020? Did we? Yeah, what was the big point of friction? Rates. Rates came down. Did you all get exponential growth in 2020? The one problem with that is that we didn't do that. The market did it for us. Same result, but while everybody else is dependent on the market to do it, and so, oh, when the market's good, I'll get growth. When the market's not so good, I'm going to contract. How about if you control your own destiny? How about if you decide your exponential growth? And by doing that, let's identify them. Fortunately for us, there's lots of problems right now. So let's go through some problems, which are the same thing as a point of friction, and let's solve them. Because when you solve these, you are going to experience exponential growth from whatever point you're on. Because remember those S-curves. You could be experiencing exponential growth, but you want S-curve on top of S-curve on top of S-curve. Lack of inventory. Is this a problem? Is this a point of friction? Of course it is. So how do we solve it? Well, we know that currently 60% of transactions, 60% are multiple bids over asking price. That's insane. It's a pain in the ass. If you're a real estate agent and somebody came to you and said, oh, I got a buyer lead for you, 2 years ago, thank you. Today it's like, what the frick am I going to do with this? You're not doing them a favor. So what we have to consider is how do we solve for this problem? Well, people are bidding crazy amounts. Now, people ask me all the time, media outlets ask me at least twice a week to do an interview on, is there a housing bubble? It's a big concern. Is there a housing bubble? My answer is this. There is no housing bubble unless the individual puts themselves in their own housing bubble on their home. If you got a home that's worth $400,000, that's listed for $450,000, and somebody pays $525,000, they put themselves in their own housing bubble. And there's a chance that they could have. So we have to evaluate the purchase. But nobody is doing that, which is a great opportunity for you to alleviate this point of friction. So you can experience an enormous exponential growth. So how do we do that? Well, here's a real place in Tampa. I picked Tampa because you can pick anywhere. You put in the listing, and then what we see here is, in this particular case, there's a home that the AVM comes in at $502,000. The asking price is $499,000. Don't worry if the numbers are small. And in order for somebody to get it, they got to bid $20,000 over asking price. Now, before they do, they've got to know, is this a good decision or a bad decision? Nobody knows. They say, okay, and they get emotional. Oh, I want the house, so I'll bid more. So everybody is making emotional instead of logical decisions, and that's where we get ourselves in trouble. So let's evaluate that for them. Here's the question that you have to be asking, and teach your real estate agent, teach your customer. It's okay to bid over asking price as long as you know what you're getting into. And the question you want to know is, if I bid, in this particular case, $520,000 on a home that's worth $500,000, at what point in time will the value of that home reach what I'm paying for it? How long do I have to wait till I'm not upside down, till I'm in the money? And sometimes it's a short period of time because this is a hot market. So let's do the evaluation. And when we do, in this particular case, you could say it takes 4 months. True example. Customer says, well, 2 months till I close. You're telling me 2 months after I close, I'm going to be in the black? Yeah. Let's go forward, offer $20,000 over asking price. It becomes a simple, logical equation. But what if I said it was going to take 6 years? Maybe you should think about it twice. Remember what I said to you to build trust. You treat them like they're your child, your parent, your best friend. You tell them all the bad news. It might take you 6 years to break even. I know you want the deal. I know the realtor wants the deal. But is that really the best thing for that customer in this case? Is it? No. Probably not. Now, you don't have to tell them it's not, but at least allow them to evaluate it. And then show them how much the home is going to be worth 5 years from now. And that really gives them an incentive if it makes sense to do so. These are all things you could do to alleviate points of friction. How about competing against the cash buyer? Do you know 25% of transactions are cash now? Do you believe that? Can't do a mortgage on a cash buyer, right? So 25% of all transactions, it's eating into the pie. So how do you compete against the cash buyer? Can you compete against the cash buyer? Simply yes. How? What do you have to do? Offer more money. Now, what if the customer is willing to offer more money, either by bidding over ask or competing against the cash buyer? Either case. But they just physically don't have enough money to do so because, as you know, appraisal's based on lower of the two, right? Purchase or value, right? So when we look at these situations, we say, well, how do I help create more money? Can you borrow more money? I can't. Do you have more money? I don't. We're maxed out on your LTV. Where do we create some money? While all my competitors are looking for the lowest rate, I want you to take a higher rate. You see, Mr. and Mrs. Client, If the rate today on a $400,000 loan, let's just say is 3%, your payment's $1,686, but I want you to take a higher rate. Let's take 3 3/8. Barry, higher rate. Why do I do that? Because then I can pay your closing costs. And by paying your closing costs, you have $6,000 more that instead of spending on closing costs, you could take that and use it to bid higher to win the home of your dreams. Wow, Barry, that seems great. It's not free. That higher rate costs you more. Your new payment's going to cost you $82 a month more, but it's instead of the $6,000 cash you're willing to do. Barry, that's fine with me. I qualify for that. That's great. I want this house. Now you win. Easy way to create money out of thin air. When you do stuff like this, you alleviate a point of friction for your realtor, for your customer, you beat your competition, and what has to happen, team? Exponential growth. Because then everybody starts talking about what you're doing. Oh my God, they just saved this deal for me. Oh my God, we're going to lose this deal. Also, you might not even have to pay that $82 a month. Because what if it brings you back to a break point on MI? That could be a good thing too, right? Because you might save that money by saving it on the MI. All right, what's another one? Discouraged buyers. Are there any discouraged buyers out there? Shit, yeah. Discouraged buyers. I'm looking for 3 weekends, 4 weekends. I can't find it. And what do they say? What do they say? Okay, maybe I'll come back in 6 months. They think that the market's going to wait for them. Okay, you come back in 6 months. We won't do anything. Don't worry. People don't understand. You have to be the educator. You illustrate to them what is going to happen to the value of this. You show them in their marketplace what they can be looking at in appreciation, what the demographics look like, what does the job picture look like. That makes you the expert. That's called being an expert, by the way. And then you show them a cost of waiting. You co-brand it with your realtor. The cost of waiting shows you that in this particular case, you wait 6 months, it's going to cost you $26,000 more. You sure you don't want to keep looking? You sure? Well, $26,000 more in 6 months, maybe I will keep looking. Maybe I'll up my offer by another $10,000. These are the things that remove friction that give you the growth that you need. How about a housing bubble? Is there a housing bubble? Okay. I just told you my thoughts on the housing bubble. Let's give the evidence. And this is a real key point for you. Can't just willy-nilly, oh, don't worry, there's no housing bubble. Don't worry about it. It's not good. Evidence. Build your case with facts. Show off how much of an expert you are. Now, you guys have heard me speak many times, some of you, and thank you for that. I am completely honored that you're kind enough to come hear thoughts that we have to share together. But housing bubble is a really big deal right now. People are worried about that because memories are, still kind of fresh from what happened in 2007, 8, and 9. Now, if you heard me speak, you've seen this chart before. Why do I keep bringing up this chart? Well, because it works, okay? If something works really, really well, you keep looking at it. And I want us to look at this together, and I want you to look at this analytically. Don't look at this, look at this alongside with me, okay? Together as a team. Because I want you to come to this conclusion on your own. Now, this shows you how many people are born in the United States every year. So what you've got here is you've got your, what you've got here is you've got your baby boomers, your Gen Xers, your millennials. Now, Zillow tells us, and the statistics bear it out, that the median age of a first-time home buyer is 33 years old, which means they were born when? In 1987 or in 88, right here on the chart. You see it, right? So this is where they were born. Now, if those amount of births represent today's amount of first-time home buyers, please look at this analytically, and if somebody asked you, what do you think the future holds for the next few years? You tell me what's about to happen. Now, if somebody's going to ask you, you can't be tepid on this. You got to talk confidently. What's going to happen? Say that loud. Yes, higher demand. Why? Because there's a freaking explosion of births that happened 32, 31, 30, 29 years ago, where these people that were born, that mountain that you see right there, in the next 3 to 4 years, they're coming. What are they going to buy? Okay. When more people want to buy than supply is available, what tends to happen to prices? They tend to go up. It's a very strong case. Now, when I sold Mortgage Market Guide in 2007, I started the process in 2006. Do you know I looked at the same chart? When we started talking, and when I started talking on CNBC about the housing market being vulnerable, and getting hate mail from people. When I started to say, don't do neg-am loans, don't do these cost of funds loans, don't do the interest-only loans unless there's a really good reason for it, and people were sending me notes and this and that saying how bad I was hurting the viewers' thoughts on it, I referred to this chart. And when I looked at this chart, here's what we saw. In 2006, a 33-year-old was born what year? 1973. Do you notice the sharp decline in births in 1973? It looks like it falls off a cliff. Do you all notice that? Yes? Yes. Do you all notice it? Yes. Yes. Why? It's because Roe v. Wade, abortions made legal, 1973. Births dropped, and 33 years later, not enough people to buy homes. It's that simple. That simple. So when you look at this and you say, okay, let's watch it play out. When we watch it play out, I'm going to show you another chart. This shows you household formations. That's the blue bar. Household formations means somebody leaves mom and daddy, they get their own place, they open up the electric in their own name. That's a household formation. Now, the gold bars are builders putting up homes. This is your classic example of demand in blue and supply in gold. Notice back here, not too bad, pretty close, and then 2006, exactly 33 years after abortions were legal, what happened to household formations? Because births were lower. So naturally, 33 years later, less households being formed. When you take a look at this and you say, okay, Barry, you did some things because you saw this coming, but how about builders? Did builders get that memo? No, builders built more homes than they have ever built in history up until this day. They didn't see this coming. They missed it. Now, by the way, if you want to know why the market's so hot, just look right here. More households being formed than builders are putting up homes. When you have more demand than there is supply, what happens to the market? Prices go up. It is simple. Guys, anybody who tries to overcomplicate this is just not looking at the right thing. You do not have to be a graduate with all kinds of economic degrees. You just got to look at the chart and make sense of it. That's it. Now, when we look at this, please look at this pattern. Please look at this. Huge dip, flat, moves up. Let's look at births 33 years ago. Huge dip, flat, moves up. It's a hand in glove, and it's got to be. Now, team, if we missed this in 2006, in 2007, 8, and 9, let's not miss it right now. Because what do we know the future is holding for us here? What's the future say? What's going to happen to this blue bar? It's going to go up. And unless builders build homes, values are going to be supported and probably pressured higher. That's why we are seeing such enormous growth. Now people say, Barry, well, there's a housing bubble because prices went up. The theory of what goes up must come down maybe applies to like gravity if I throw a ball in the air, yes. But markets don't necessarily respond that way. When we take a look at the inventory that was available in 2007, it was 3.7 million units. Today there's 1 million units and dropping. You need inventory to have a bubble, right? I mean, there's no inventory. Let me show it to you differently. In 2007, everybody in the United States lived in 116 million households. Today, there's 128 million households. So you got 12 million more households with 3 million fewer homes. How are we going to see a crash? Where's it coming from? That's what I ask you. When you look logically instead of emotionally, it tells you a lot. Now, the other big thing is affordability. Affordability. And say, well, the median home price went up 19%, hourly earnings are up 4%. Unsustainable, not affordable, housing market's going to crash. For 9 years, Diana Olick's been saying every chance she gets, do not buy a home. The market's bad. She has been saying up until last year, rent, do not own. Up until last year. Adam Data, everything out of Adam Data for the past 5 years has been bad about housing. They have been absolutely perfectly wrong in their assessments. So when somebody sees this, they listen to her. She's on TV. She must be right? She's saying it's unsustainable. Hey, it makes sense. 19% and 4%, that doesn't jive. Well, first of all, median home price. What does median home price mean? From math class, half the sales above it, half the sales below it. Why are half the sales above it more? Because there's more inventory in the upper end. There's nothing on the lower end. So that's skewing it higher. Now, how about actual appreciation? It's still hot. It's 13%. That's really hot. Wait a minute, Barry. 13% appreciation, 4% hourly earnings doesn't seem to make sense. Don't look at hourly earnings. Why? What if there's shift changes? What about overtime? You're getting paid time and a half. You still get that $4, 4% gain, but the time and a half doesn't count. The double time doesn't count. People are getting paid a lot of that. You look at weekly earnings. Weekly earnings are up 7%. You might say, Barry, okay, 13% appreciation, 7% hourly earnings, it doesn't jive. Take good notes of what I'm about to show you, because the math is what's important. Affordability. If you were going to buy a home last year, and that home were going to give you $1,000 a month principal and interest, just principal and interest payment, your income would be roughly about $5,000 a month. So if you didn't buy it last year, it's back on the market this year, you got a chance to buy it, and it went up 13% because that's the appreciation. Now you could buy that same home, except it's gone up 13%, interest rate's pretty similar, so the payment goes up 13%. Instead of $1,000 a month, it's up 13% to $1,130. That's a $130 a month increase. True, it is less affordable, unless what happened? Unless, say it. Unless your income goes up. Thank you. That's 100% right, Mike. Now, what did income go up? What did weekly earnings go up? 7%. Do you need all 7%? Do you need 13% to match that? No. I need $130 a month more. $130 a month is a 2.6% rise in income, and we're getting 7. This market is more affordable than it was last year. And that's the big point that we have to get across. This is a point of friction. Remove the point of friction, you get exponential growth, team. It's that simple. Price escalation that we've seen does come with a sacrifice. It does. Now, who's from California? Good. We've got a couple of you guys here. Okay. Welcome to Florida. So, we got the current home ownership rate in the United States is 66%, but in California, it is 55%. Why? You've noticed in California, everybody's been saying how expensive it is in California, right? But yet home values keep going up. What's changing? The home ownership rate is changing. But here's what you have to remember. Instead of 66%, they have 55%. But that 55% is so great that it overwhelms the supply of homes, and therefore prices keep going up. And that's the key that we have to remember, is that so long as there is more demand than there is supply, prices will continue to be supported. Now, is this a good time to buy? Yeah. We think it's a really good time to buy a home, if you can. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a good time to buy. High demand, tight supply. Our guess, our forecast to be exact, is 8.5%. 8.5% is what our forecast is for this year. I think we're going to come in light. I think it's going to be over that. So I think we're going to miss it this year to the light side. But a $100,000 home, to use an example, with 10% down means how much of a down payment did you give everybody? How much was that? $10,000. So $10,000 is your down payment, but it also represents your investment. That is your investment. If your investment's $10,000 and that home went up 8%, how much did the home go up? $8,000 profit. So $8,000 profit on a $10,000 investment is what rate of return? 80%. Not too shabby. That's why they say real estate creates wealth. If you show that to your customer, you alleviate another point of friction. Okay, current point of friction with refinances. Well, if rates go up, does that hurt refis? Refinances are down 27% from where they were last year. Rates are still good. They're right around 3, some of you below 3, whatever. So what are we going to do if rates go up a little bit? Okay, well, the first thing we have to do is show people that don't be butthurt in case rates go up a little bit. What do I mean by that? Oh, I really wanted a rate under 3. Well, you should have done it when you had it. First of all, okay, no, we can't say that. Don't say that. But what you can say is you say, listen, if you think rates are going to come back, they're going to come back down. I'll wait for them to come back down. What about the money you save in the meanwhile? And show them that. Because if they would take a look, let's just say the rate's 3.25, and they think it's going to come back down to 2 7/8. But it takes them a year to get there, or 10 months to get there. If you calculate the savings that you would have had, you'll notice it'll take about 4 or 5 years before they even break even. So you'll be ahead of the game for the next 4 or 5 years, and then if rates come back down, at that point in time, you could be in a position where you'll be beneficial. But that's too big of a risk. Why not save the money now? If rates do go up, and eventually they will. Look, there's a lot of talk about inflation. I think on August 27th, 28th, in that range, you're going to hear the Fed announce the potential of slowing down their purchases. There's only one reason why rates are here, is because the Fed's buying like animals, okay? They are buying like crazy, and there's now a lot of calls, even within the Fed, to slow it down. When they do that, rates are going to bump up a little bit for a period of time. Now, I do think there's a good chance that we see a recession in 2022, 2023, and rates really come back down a lot. I think the 10-year Treasury will challenge 1%, maybe even below that, because I do see a recessionary or recession-like conditions happening there. And I think you're going to be in for a really good market. But between now and then, you could see rates rise up. Inflation that we're going to get tomorrow might scare the markets. In an hour and a half, you're going to get a 10-year note auction. That might scare the markets. This morning's update, whereas we use the song, it's a New York minute, because everything can change from where they are right now. We think that we are potentially at an inflection point if we get a weak auction in an hour and a half from now, where you could see a move up. You might be seeing me do an alert right here as I'm walking in the hall sometimes. So we have to be careful of that. Now, when we take a look at this particular marketplace that we're in, yes, rates are attractive for people to refinance, but what if rates do go up? Let's use a current example. Say somebody's got a rate of 3% on a $500,000 purchase they did with a $400,000 loan. That's an 80 LTV. That 80 LTV was at time of purchase means no MI. So the home's gone up in value, the loan's gone down according to normal amortization, and let's just say the rate that you could offer, let's get crazy and say it's 4%. Now, most of us wouldn't even call that customer, pay any attention to that, right? And let's just say the closing costs on top of that were $4,000. So it doesn't seem like it makes sense because their payment goes up $116 a month and it's $4,000 in expense. Somebody's going to say, Barry, it doesn't make sense. Well, why would we even look at that? I'm not even going to call that customer, except that what we want to do is alleviate a point of friction. We want to take what the defense is giving us. What have we seen to home values lately? What has happened with home values over the last couple of years? Huge appreciation plus normal amortization. You're talking about equity in homes, and here's where we could change somebody's life. So when you call that customer, you ask them one simple question. You say, hey, what are your debts? And they tell you what their debts are. They got $20,000 in credit cards. They got a car loan. They've got something at Macy's or Best Buy. And when you do that, you discover that, hey, we've got this list on the bottom here of all their debts, and they've got a 60 LTV currently on their home. They bought it at an 80, but now it's a 60. And I could take you to a 75, which is this line here, no problem. I could probably take you higher than that. But let's just play with a 75. We calculate that that's $91,000 of equity I could pull out of your home. What if we use some of that $91,000 to pay off some of the debts? And the answer is, when we do, I could save you about $1,800 a month. Would you like an extra $1,800 a month, Mr. and Mrs. Client? I got your attention, don't I? $1,800 a month, that's real money. Yeah, Barry, $1,800 a month sounds really good. I said, but wait a minute. Your ratios are low. You're comfortable making the payments. What if you made believe I didn't even do it? You're comfortable making these payments right now. Make the same payment. Just apply the difference to accelerate principal on your loan. Here's what's going to happen. By doing that, you apply that to principal. I'm going to pay off your loan in 11 years and 11 months from now. Less than 12 years, your loan's done. I'm going to save you 15 years in 1 month. Instead of 324 payments, I've got 143. I'm saving you 181 payments of $5,000 a month. How's that sound? Do you have anything planned for retirement? Oh, I've been meaning to do it. How many of your customers are set for retirement? How many? Not a lot, right? Not a lot. You just solved their retirement. Is my retirement a point of friction? Did I just fix it by saying you got a $5,000 in less expense for 15 years, starting 11 years and 11 months from now? College education for my kids. Is that a point of friction? Hell yeah. So what happens? After 5 years, you do nothing, you hang up the phone with me, and you do not take action. You will build over the next 5 years, guaranteed if you make your mortgage payments, $48,000. But if you do what I'm suggesting you do, you make the exact same payment, nothing changes, you amortize $160,000. I will give you a guaranteed $111,000 on one condition. You make the mortgage payment just like you were making before. And you will have an extra $111,000. In 10 years, it's $250,000. And in 11 years and 1 month, you've got $310,000. You've got a beautiful 3-year-old daughter. 11 years from now, wouldn't it be nice to know that you got enough money in your home to pay for their college education and more? And your retirement. Did I just alleviate 2 points of friction? By the way, did I do it with them having to break their back and do something? They're making the exact same payment they were making before. All I'm doing is doing it smarter. It's the one change. You are the expert. You're alleviating the point of friction. Now, what about time? Time's a point of friction. People say, oh yeah, we got to be time management. There's no such thing as math. How am I going to math? Tick, tick, tick. I can do whatever I want to do. That's going to go tick, tick, tick. It ain't going to stop. You cannot manage time. Let's understand that, okay? Anybody says you can manage time, okay, here, please, stop it for me. Right? Please. Between the Botox, the hair color. Thanks, bro. Thanks. So team, if we're going to understand time, there's only one thing we could do, is we could be effective with the time we have. What separates all of us is the efficacy of time usage. That's it. We all have the same period of time every day. 24 hours, one day. How did you use them? You want to be more effective? Make the best investment you can. People ask me all the time, oh, Barry, what do you think of Ethereum? What do you think of Bitcoin? What do you think of the stock market? What do you think rates are? What's the best investment I can do right now? Here it is, your brain. It's number one investment. And God bless you guys because you're here, because you're investing in your brain right now. So clearly, I am preaching to the choir. You understand that. But it is a never-ending process. I learn every single day. I'm up every morning before 6 a.m., and what am I doing? I'm reading. I'm learning every single day because I respect you guys so much. I want to make sure that I try and bring you something that's going to be of value to you. And I know that's the way you feel about your customers, about your referral partners, about your kids, your family. You want to bring value. So we have to be effective on time. So it's your brain, and it's also your words. Because your words are what delivers the hard work in your brain to someone else. That's what makes it effective. It's both parts. How many of you are recording your conversations? You want to accelerate? Good man, Alan. You want to accelerate through the process? It's painful. Record your conversations that you've had with clients and then listen to them. Holy shit, did I really say that? Oh my God, they asked this question. I didn't even answer it. And what you'll also find is this is where I lost that transaction. You'll also find that this is where I gained their trust, because you can't do it in the heat of battle. And if you're a leader, you do it with your sales team. I did it with mine. Tough, but it makes a world of difference. And I want you to start asking the right kind of questions. You can really help realtors with this, because realtors are awful at this. They ask verb-led questions. Isn't the bathroom wonderful? Look at the landscaping. So you don't want to do that, because your immediate reaction is, they're selling me. You have to ask interrogative questions. Interrogative questions are, what are your thoughts? And then please refrain from giving them their thoughts, okay? So what are your thoughts, and be comfortable with the silence. Do not say another word until they give you their thoughts, because this is where you get the gold. Oh man, well, the closet space looks really great, I don't have any of that. Or on the loan, well, yeah, by refinancing and paying off these debts, man, that's going to save me a lot of years if I put the money back in. Or, thanks for showing me the appreciation on this home, because, yeah, I know I'm bidding a little bit more, but it looks like I can make a lot of money. This is what you want. Is it more impactful if I sell them or if they sell themselves? We all know the answer, okay? So if you ask an interrogative question, like, what are your thoughts? Here's where you get the gold. Here's another question. Really important. These two should be asked in every single transaction. What are your concerns? Because here's where misunderstandings come in. Because they will harbor the concern and they won't tell you, because people don't like confrontation, and then you just don't get the deal. What are your concerns? And if they don't give you any concerns, don't say, good. Treat them like your child, your parent, your best friend, and tell them what the concerns are that they should have. By doing that, you build trust. Just personal here, Ronald Reagan, my favorite president. I mean, I get very inspired listening to him. I listen to his stuff. To me, it's like, where are people like this today? I love the leadership. of Ronald Reagan. I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just saying from a leadership perspective, I loved his leadership. And I loved him. And he ended the Cold War with Mikhail Gorbachev. So what he did in order to end that Cold War was really interesting, because the way that meeting went, the way it's chronicled, is that it was not going well. And Ronald Reagan got up from the meeting and left. Nobody knew what was going to happen. He walks back in, reintroduces himself. Hi, I'm Ronald. And shakes Gorbachev's hand. And then he says, let's go for a walk together, just the two of us. And now you have two men walking in the same direction, looking the same way, changing the world. And when you can take your relationship with your customer and you can change it from being on opposite sides of the table to doing this and saying, here's what I think the concerns might be that you should be looking at, you change everything. It's so easy to do, but it's scary at first to do it until you do it once or twice, and then it's like, oh my gosh. Personal finance questions. I mean, we're in a personal finance business. Why are you afraid to ask if they got their retirement squared up? You just met them and you asked them how much money they make, how much money they got in the bank, and let me see all the details of your divorce. You did what? So that's okay, you could ask that. But hey, can I help you with your kids' college? Doesn't make any sense, team. Ask them the questions they want. They want help with this stuff. What helped me in my career is I started doing 2 loans at a time. What I mean by that is I'm not going to just do the loan I'm doing for you today. I'm going to do today's loan in conjunction with the next. Because time is a really important element that nobody talks about. People want to know what's the best loan for me, and I'm going to talk about that with you in a minute. It depends on how much time we have. There are people out there that you look at and you say, man, that person's just, they seem just magnetic. How are they magnetic? I want to be more magnetic. We all do. I want to be more magnetic. We all do. 2 things. When you meet someone or when you're in someone's presence, make them feel smarter. Have something to offer. People will be drawn to that. We love being around people we can learn from. But you can't give what you don't have. You have to be able to do the work behind so that you could shine when the light's on you, okay? That's what you want to make sure you're able to do. And the other is to make them feel better. Make them feel better. Who doesn't like to be made to feel better? Don't do it in a way that's BS. Do it sincerely. But you will find what you look for. You will find what you look for. If you're looking to be critical, you will criticize. If you're looking to be uplifting, you will uplift that person. You all have that decision you can make when you encounter somebody. And the results are just amazing. Customers want to work with people they trust and understand. Right? We know that. So Barry, what's the best loan for me? Well, the best loan for you depends. I gave you 6 options or 5 options. They're all the best loan for you. We have to discuss the element of time. So we have to communicate that. So as we do, that's why I don't understand why nobody looks at this on a timeline. They're all the best for you. Make sure you sketch them out over time. And when you do, you could see on the bottom, all 5 loan options are selected. And you could see that if you could see it, there's 3 different colors there between years 1 and 2.5. In this case, a 30-year fix with no points and monthly MI. Then it's a 7-year arm between years 2.5 and 5.5. And then after that, it's a 30-year fix with 2 3/4, 2 points. You see, Mr. and Mrs. Client, it depends on when. You tell me when, I'll tell you what the best loan is, and you can see it on here. It's easy for you to see. And the customer says, oh, now I get it. I'd rather do business with you because you, I understand. This other person, no freaking clue. Now, you say, Barry, I don't want to take the 7-year arm. It's too risky. Just unclick it. And now you get a whole new board that instantly appears. Now you got a new entrant, the 3 1/4, 0 points with upfront MI comes in there. Barry, I don't want to pay any points on my loan. So let's eliminate the loans with these 2 loans that have points on them. Let's eliminate. Okay, just unclick them. And now you're really asking me is this. What you really want to know is you want a 3 1/4%, 30-year fix with 0 points, but you're not sure if you want upfront MI or monthly MI. And here's your answer. If you're going to be in this home for 3.5 years or less, pick the monthly MI. If you're going to be here for 3.5 years or more and not refinance it, we're going to go with the upfront MI. Barry, let's pick the one with the monthly MI because I think we're going to refinance it. Or I'm going to be in there at this house till they bury me. Let's go with the upfront MI. And it's clear. Clear communication wins all the time. How about exponential visibility? Amplify your message. I mean, boy, Christine, you're hitting on it dead on the head here with how important it is to have this as part of your vision. It's critical because you want to take that good message and you want people to listen to it. You want to amplify it. Repeating the same message over and over is a time drain. How many times has something happened in the marketplace? I'll use this. Fed cut rates. Meanwhile, you're watching reprice for the worst, reprice for the worst. And every customer, oh yeah, the Fed cut, my rate's low, right? It's a time drain, okay? So what do? Why don't we use the technology that's available? You know, you heard Jay talk about it over and over. You hear Christine talk about it over and over. Modern marketing. Well, to me, using social media to be effective and using the tools that are available. You know, we have something that really helps amplify our message. Like, for example, today we just put this out there in MBS Highway and Social Studio. You know the part that I talked with you all about, which was how to create money by taking a higher rate? That's a good message, right? Would you agree that that's a pretty good message in this environment? It's a big point of friction. So we created a script. So what we said is, look, everybody tells you make videos, make videos, make videos, make videos, right? I'm just going to use this for a second, okay? So you say, okay, I'm going to make a video. Hi. What was I going to say? Right? Do you ever do that? Okay? So let's make it easy. Let's turn your phone or your computer into a teleprompter. Let's give you the script. You could edit it, but let's give you the script. And it scrolls along the teleprompter, so it looks like you're looking at the camera, and you're just reading the script. It's 40 seconds. You could read for 40 seconds. You put something out, and now you get thousands of hits. Now you get several transactions for 40 seconds of work. I think that's a good, effective use of time, right? So these are the things we want to do. And there's script after script after script that is all going to be out there that you could use. And then what about your own message? Your own message that you could put out there. I want to put a message out because this is something I want to get out. Type it in there, and then you're set to go. Look, remember I said your brain and your words is how you communicate them, right? I want you to change your focus, team, because we are doing things the same way. And here's the problem with this hot market that we've been in, is it breeds some habits that are not necessarily great for the long run. You know that. How do we make sure that we're doing all the right things? I want you to change your focus, and focus is so important. Now, those of you that know me, you know I like to drive on the track, but listen, God's honest truth, when I do something, I try to do it right. I try and be reasonably good at it. And I'm a really coachable person. I love to teach, but I love to learn. I learn from all of you guys. When I talk to you guys and I meet you guys are all so nice to me when we chat together, and I love that. And I really listen to you guys because I learn from you. A lot of the things that we have done, I give you guys all 100% credit because we're learning from you. I'm listening to you. And when I drive, it's the same. So I want to get professional instruction. One of the reasons why you should use Christine as a coach is because, and her team as a coach, is because you get professional instruction. So as I drive on the track, my driving instructor one day says, Barry, he says, I noticed that you're looking at the bumper in the car in front of you. And I remember going like this. Yeah? Okay. He says, well, don't worry, just about everybody does that. He says, but you really need to change your focus and you need to look much further down the road. And I said, okay. And he could tell I really didn't get it. He makes me pull the car over. I pull the car over, he gets me out of the car, he takes my bottle of water, and he puts my bottle of water down on the ground about 20 feet in front of me. And if you stare at that bottle of water, just like he told me to stare at the bottle of water, I want you to stare at the bottle of water. And as you're staring at the bottle of water, I want to ask you a question. Can you read the sign on the highway while you're staring at the bottle of water? Please tell me. No, right? Now, please look at the sign. And can you, some of you might be a little more difficult, but can you kind of read that sign right now if you're looking at it? Yes. While you're reading the sign, do you still see the bottle of water? There you have it. If you look further down the road, he said, Barry, you will be able to, on the track, see where the apex of the curve is, understand what to do with your speed, and improve your times. He said, but the lesson is much deeper than that. He said, the real lessons are when you're at home with your family, and those are very important to you for your safety and the safety of others. If you're like everybody else looking at the bumper of the car in front of you, you have to depend on their reaction time. If you're looking further down the road, you will still see the car in front of you, but you'll be able to see things that potentially could be bad develop even before they do. And you will be a safer driver for you and your family. And that's something I want to teach and share with all of you, that lesson that I learned. Because I want you to all protect yourselves and your family. And I think about that in business, and I say, wow, in business, if we just shift our focus and look a little bit further down the road instead of what's here, how does everything change for us? And it begins with alleviating points of friction and jumping those S-curves, one on top of another, on top of another. I've tried to share with you several of those S-curves today because I believe that every single one of you, A, has experienced it, but has a deep burning desire to want to continue to do that and to not just be reactionary, but to initiate those points of friction. And repeating excellence, it's not easy. You know why? Because it's very easy to be hungry when you're starving. But it's not so easy. It's hard to stay hungry when you're very well fed. But that is the mark of a real champion. When they hit a goal or achieve something and they want to take it to the next step. I remember speaking one time with the famous coach, used to be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Hall of Famer Tom Landry. And we were speaking at a conference together. And we were backstage, it was a big conference, and at the green room, the two of us, it was just me and him. We had a break in between our talks for like 15 minutes, just me and him. So I figured I'm going to ask him some stuff. So I started talking with him, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, Barry, you know what? He says, I don't like these players that they score or they make a big play and they do this showboating and this and that. He said, that doesn't intimidate me at all. It doesn't intimidate anybody. What that says to me is they did something outstanding, which was a fluke. Wasn't meant to be, they got lucky. He said, you know who scares me? The person who scores a touchdown on us, and they do it like that's what they're supposed to do. Like they scored on us, and they're going to do it again. Those are the ones that I was watching out for. I want you to be that person. I want you to know that last year was not a fluke. I want you to know that you're going to win again and again and again. Because what you're going to do is you're going to look at points of friction, you're going to alleviate them because your focus is much further down the road. It's not just what's going on today, because you all have that ability. And it really starts with understanding things like what motivates you and your education level. I'm just going to tell you just briefly, if you're a CMA, Eddie Perez and his entire organization made it mandatory across the board. Him and Jason Frazier said, listen, everybody's got to be CMA graduate. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And as Jason will tell you, that's the future. If you guys are already there, and many of you are, I saw some of you wearing the shirts, congrats to you. It's awesome. And if you ask anybody who's gone through the course, they'll tell you it's more in 8 hours than they've learned in 25 years of the business, because we teach you the real stuff, how do interest rates work, how to combat people that are screwing us because they're manipulating APR, how to fight that, how to understand the charts so that you can make better investment decisions and read technical analysis. There's so much. Understanding the Fed, demystifying every economic report, really making you what we really should have done from day one. Heck, where does mortgage money come from? Bet you if you ask yourself, it's not clear to many of us where mortgage money actually comes from. How does the mortgage market work? We should know that, right? This is something that everyone should do. I know many of you have in here, and I applaud you for that. And if you haven't, just consider it, because we're going to do something for you today. There's a code VISION if you become CMA.com, or I'm going to be in the back with Megan. I'll have some of my books back there. Megan will be back there, and we're going to do it at a deep discount for you today. And by the way, guys, if you're not on MBS Highway, I know so many of you are. It's really cool because I know so many of you talk to me about that you are and what it's meant to you. And believe me, I appreciate you so much. I think that today might be a good day to do it because we've discounted it rather significantly. We took an $800 discount off the price, or $80 a month off the price. And if you wanted to do both, we're going to make it really easy for you to do it today for both of them if you wanted to do it on an annual basis. But just come back, say hi to Megan or myself by the table. We'll be there during the break, and we will do something special for you there if you decide to do both. So just let us know. Now, I did write a book. Many of you have it. I've got some copies there. Thank you, guys. Oh, thank you. And guys, thanks to you, really. I could not believe, I literally, guys, I broke down, I got emotional when it hit number one. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that could ever happen, but I owe it to you. So I am so grateful, so grateful to all of you guys for allowing that. And I did not write it monetarily. I wrote it because, if I were able to learn from struggles that I've had, really anybody can. Anybody can. You can certainly overcome them. I found out what motivates me. And what motivated me was something that is different for everybody. And I just want to chat with you just for a couple of minutes here to see if we can tap into some of the things that can motivate you. So I grew up really poor. So obviously money was a motivator for me, especially early on. My dad passed away when I was very young. My mom literally worked in a sweatshop where they make dresses. And it was really a struggle for us. I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to be made fun of by other kids because your clothes didn't fit right, because they were ripped or whatever. So I know what that's like. So for me, it's really important to try and help others bridge that gap when they're really trying to do better for themselves. And so I don't want anybody to ever be ashamed about wanting to make a lot of money. You should be proud that you want to make a lot of money. Because, listen, having a little bit of money, life is a lot easier, okay? Doesn't solve all the problems, but here's the real special thing about that, is that you can do a lot of good with the money you make. I see people who are successful because they achieve goals, they see goals and they hit them, and they've got success on achievement. They've got success monetary, but there's a lot of people that's still not happy. I think that's because the third leg of the stool is fulfillment. And to me, at least for me, fulfillment comes from helping others. And I'm sure for a lot of you, for all of you, that's the same way. So don't be afraid. As you reach for your goals with one hand, reach with your hand here to bring others with you. Because that's, selfishly, for all of us, that's what makes us happy, making a difference like that. Competition will help you get there too. Competition's a great one. Confidence, not cockiness, but confidence. We're attracted to confidence. Let's face it, we are, right? Right? Isn't that true? Yeah, that's right. We are attracted to confidence. How can we be confident? You know how we can be confident? By knowing we're the best version of ourselves right now. Right now, who we are. If you were in my office, you'd see, I was here yesterday with Candy. And by the way, we had the wrong version of the PowerPoint today, which was a small change. It was nothing really major. We overcame that little obstacle. That is not their fault. That's my fault. But I had good intentions. The reason is because here, I wanted to put a graphic in because having a good presentation wasn't good enough for me. Because I respect you so much, I wanted to do every single thing I could to make it the very best I could for you. And if you're in my office, Megan will attest to it, anybody's there, I'll drive people crazy because it's not good enough. The reason why Candy wanted I said, well, Candy, and I already gave her 3 versions of it to try and do better. So if you said to me, Barry, what was the best talk you'd ever gave? I'd want it to be this one today. But I will tell you this, I want the one I'm doing 2 weeks from now in Orlando to be better. Is your interaction with your children, with your significant other, with your customer, your referral source, the best interaction that you've ever had? Is your client presentation the best version of yourself? Because that will make you confident, and that will just draw more people to you. It's pushing yourself to be are you investing in yourself to be the very best version of you? Team, it just explodes from there. Think about this. When you leave the house in the morning and you're busy and you're running around, you leave the house and you think to yourself, who I have to call, what I have to do. I'm on the phone with somebody, yelling out barking orders to your significant other or your kids or whatever it is, right? And you're rushing and you're late. What if you just took 1 minute to think about one question? And the question is, why am I doing this? Why? Am I doing this for my significant other? Because I want to make her life better? Because I want to make his life better? Because I want to give them things? What could possibly stop you? You doing this for your parents who sacrificed so much for you? I know I owe that. There's no way I'm going to shortchange the opportunity they gave me and my ability. I'm going to do everything I can. Is it your children? what wouldn't you do for your kids, right? Think about how powerful it would be to walk out the door and know that that's what you're doing, who you're doing it for. You're telling me you're not going to overcome any obstacle, that anything else that's out there is going to look small, any little hill that you can't climb, because you're doing it for them and nothing's going to come in their way. Man, I remember when I first got in the mortgage business, and Jay mentioned it. Now, I was new on the block. Nobody wanted to talk to me. So at night I said, okay, I'm going to knock on people's doors. You know why? Because I had a brainstorm that after Dan and Nicole were born, they're 2 months old. I'm a young guy. I mean, I still make mistakes, but talk about taking a crazy chance, right? Okay, I'm going to change careers. I'm going to get in the mortgage business. And nobody wanted to talk to me. You think failure was an option for me? I got 2-month-olds, 2 of them. We didn't have a lot of money. So I started knocking on people's doors. Some people threw me out. Some people called the cops. But you know what? My 3rd week in the business, I wrote 16 loan apps because nobody ever done that before. I said, well, I just got to talk to enough people. Nothing's going to stop me. I got to feed these kids. I would go to realtors and bring pictures of the kids. I have to do a good job for you. I have no choice. Swear to God. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So, and I know I'm out of time. I'm going to take just a couple of more minutes here real quick. But, all right. So team, when I tell you there's no obstacle you can't overcome if you know what your purpose is, if you know why you're doing it, and if you take a minute to remind yourself. Now look, every day I start my day off literally saying out loud all the things I'm grateful for. My friends, my family, my kids, my animals, who I love too, you know, people I work with, my clients, my referrals, all the things that I've been able to have. And if I put my mind in that place to start my day, then all the other crap that comes along the way, I can handle it better. Somebody cuts you off on the road, whatever. We get pissed for a second, but let's remember all the good stuff we got going on, because we do. We do. Look around the world. We do. And you know, team, when I wrote the book, Money in the Streets, it was because when my parents came here, like so many immigrants, they heard about the story of America, such a rich country. All you have to do is pick up the money in the streets. The streets are lined with gold. It's so well, when they came here, you know, they found it was quite different. And I used to be a little boy, and my mom would tell me this. And she would laugh at how silly it was to believe that. But it was also sad for me to hear, too. And as I understood, as I grew up, about removing points of friction and seeing how just by doing certain things, there's opportunity all over, I sat with her before she passed. And I said, you know, Mom, you were right. There really is money in the streets. All you have to do is see it, pick it up, and do good with it. And that's what I wish for you. God bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Barry!
Thank you, guys.
Barry, come over here. I got something for you.
You got something?
First off, I gotta ask, so does this mean me and Jenna need to have a baby? No, she's not pregnant. I'm just, you know, you talk about the child, you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
So this award, that was weird a little bit, right? That was weird, you know. Give me a hug.
Orgasms and babies.
You get me so excited.
Thank you, Nat.
This is an award for the 2020 Vision for Success Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to work on my diction. 2020 Vision for Success Coaching Award for, always giving. That is who you are, and I can speak from that from personal experience. You've helped me astronomically in my life, so here you go.
We help each other, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
Love you. Love you too.
Thank you, guys. Are we
Great speaker
ready
coming up?
for my friend, the real Brad Lee? Are we ready?